how many of you in this room have children that are anywhere from birth to, let's say, 5th grade? Me too. I'm a dad to an 8-year-old boy in 2nd grade. So how many of you have children that are anywhere from middle school up to college? Wonderful. So good, we've got a diverse group here today. This is a training that I think is great for teachers, but I think it's great for anyone who really, I would say, deals with children, but it's not really just about children. It's how we interact with one another. It's how we speak to one another. Praising children is what we call this training. And before we really dig too deep into what that means, let's look at the definition for the word praise. The first definition comes straight from the good old Merriam-Webster dictionary. And if you would, read it out loud with me. To express approval of or commend. Great. I'm going to show you another definition, and I really like this particular publication. This is the Longman Dictionary. It is a dictionary that puts things into more student-friendly language. Would you read that definition with me, please? To say that you admire and approve of something or someone, especially publicly. Yes, especially publicly. I always point out that my son is 8 years old. This is very important to him. Not only does he want me to show him that praise, but he wants everybody around to know that he received it. If we're in the supermarket and he's not running around like a wild man, then I praise him. He would be very happy if I would get the loudspeaker in the supermarket and praise him so that everyone there can hear. And you know, then I've worked with adults that are the same way. I've supervised adults that I think, this is how I'm going to let them know that I appreciate what they're doing. And I'll give them a little bit of praise. And based on what I say to them, that really determines how we interact with one another throughout our relationship. So, let me go back. Looking at this particular training, the research shows that researchers went into homes with children ages 14 to 38 months. And what they did when they went into those homes, they observed the way that parents spoke to their children. They listened to what parents said during that period of time. Then they went away for 5 years. They came back 5 years later. And looking at that research that they'd gathered previously, they looked at where these children are now in terms of their motivation. That could be academic motivation. That could be family motivation. It could be extracurricular activities, enrichment. But they really studied how parents spoke to their children. Okay? So let's look at this example. If this were your daughter, and she is playing the piano, and you're looking on as she does so, take a look at all the details in that photograph. Just throw out for me, and as we do this, Karen's going to scribe for us. This is Karen Peck, by the way. She's also with the Von Gross Center for Reading and Language Arts at the University of Texas, Austin. She's going to write down your comments. So just give me an example. What would you say if this were your daughter?
I'd say much better than last week.
Much better than last week. What a pretty song. Keep it simple, right? Good job. Let me get one more.
You're a great musician.
You are a great musician. Great. Now we're going to come back to this in just a moment. Okay? So looking at that research study where parents have children between the ages of 14 to 38 months, the researchers are in their homes, they listen, they record. What are these parents actually saying to these children? How are they saying it? How many words are they using? They go away for 5 years, they come back, and they're looking at the motivation of these children 5 years later. Okay? So here's what they can conclude from their research. There are two different types of praise. The first type of praise that we've recognized is called person praise. Okay? Person praise focuses on a child's abilities, their traits, as though they were born that way. They're fixed, they're innate. You can't really change it. It's who you are, it's how you are, okay? But it also implies that they can't change it too much. It's going to stay pretty much the same. So here's an example. Let's just say this is my daughter, and I say to her, "Wow, you're a great soccer player." Okay? That implies that she was born that way. It's who she is, it's what she is. Okay, so that's person praise. Let's look at a different type of praise that was recognized by the researchers, process praise. Process praise is a little different because it really breaks it all down for you. It focuses on a child's accomplishments as they are achieved. So it really focuses on the efforts, the actions, and the strategies. So here's that same young lady, and I might say to her, instead of saying with person praise, "You're a great soccer player," if I'm using process praise, I would say something like, "You know, honey, you practiced every day this week. And because of all that practice, you scored that big winning goal in the game on Saturday. So you worked really hard and all that practice paid off in the big game." Okay? As opposed to, "You're a great soccer player." Now, they're both praise. They're both ways of giving my child encouragement. But let's look a little further. Let's look at this video example. And in this video, a family is using praise with their children. We've provided a script for you there. If you would follow along with the script if you would like. And listen, it's the reason we provide the script, we've got a video that was filmed in Australia. And they have these wonderful Australian dialects, but sometimes, you know, it takes your ear a moment to get used to listening to that accent. So we're going to play it twice. The first time, you don't even have to look at your script if you don't want. Just watch the video, it's very short. Second time, look at the types of praise, and then on your script, we have a spot where you can identify, is it person praise that they're using, or process praise, or both, based on the characteristics of those two types of praise that we just presented.
Hey Nick, Sophie, time for dinner. Come to the table, please. Thanks for coming when I called, guys. How's softball, Sophie?
You did really well, Nick. Really liked how you shook hands with the other team even though you'd lost.
Yeah, well.
I'm getting a drink. Do you want one, Hill? Yeah.
Dad?
No, I'm good, but thanks.
Good time at the party last night? Hey, thanks for calling when you were running late. I appreciated that.
Hey Jess. Thanks for your help with your sister today. You've been a big help with her all week and your mum and I really appreciate it.
No worries.
I'm going to play it one more time. Feel free to follow along in your script and decide, are these parents using person praise with their children? Are they using process praise with their children? Or perhaps a little bit of both?
Hey Nick, Sophie, time for dinner. Come to the table, please. Thanks for coming when I called, guys. How's softball, Sophie?
You did really well, Nick. Really liked how you shook hands with the other team even though you'd lost.
Yeah, well.
I'm getting a drink. Do you want one, Hill? Yeah.
Dad?
No, I'm good, but thanks.
Good time at the party last night? Hey, thanks for calling when you were running late. I appreciated that.
Hey Jess. Thanks for your help with your sister today. You've been a big help with her all week and your mum and I really appreciate it.
No worries.
So let's look at our script And I'll just go back to the very first scene here where Dad is cooking in the kitchen and he says, "Hey, Nick, Sophie, it's time for dinner. Come to the table, please." And they do. And then Dad says, "Thanks for coming when I called, guys." Do we think, is he using person praise there with his children, or is that more process praise? Raise your hand if you say it's person praise. Raise your hand if you say it's process praise. Can someone tell me why do you think that would be process praise? Okay, so is he praising them for their efforts, their actions, or their strategies? Their actions of doing what? Coming to the table when they're called. Exactly. So yes, that one would definitely go more under that process praise category for sure. Let's look at situation number 2. Mom and Nick are coming in the front door. She says, "You did really well, Nick. I really liked how you shook hands with the other team even though you'd lost." And he says, "Yeah, well," and he shakes his head and he schleps off to his room and he's not happy. But was she using person praise with her son? Or was she using process praise? Raise your hand if you think she was using person praise. Okay? So was she focusing on his abilities as though he was born that way, as though they are innate and he can't change them? Probably not. I would say that she was definitely more focusing on his efforts of going up to the other team after the game and shaking hands with them anyway. Now, did he want to? No, he did not want to. But he did that. And I guarantee you that boy, that high school boy who towered over Mom, inside he's this tall and still need Mom's approval. So I guarantee you that next time he finds himself in that same unfortunate situation of losing, he's going to remember Mom's words, and probably he'll do the same thing and go and shake the opposition's hand. So definitely she was using process praise in that particular scene. Let's look at scene 3. The sisters are watching TV on the sofa and Dad at the table reading. So Sister 1 says, "I'm getting a drink. Do you want one, Hill?" And she says, "Yeah." And then the Sister 1 says, "Dad?" And Dad says, "No, I'm good, but thanks." Now see, that one's always a tricky one for me because he really didn't do anything but say thank you, right? But based on these criteria, do we think that he is using person praise or process praise by thanking her? Think about what he's thanking her for. Was he thanking her for just being great? Or was it more specific about her efforts, her actions, and her strategies of doing what? Asking, offering, "Can I get you a drink?" So definitely that would go under the process praise category, definitely. Scene 4. Mom and Nick are in the kitchen. Mom says, "Good time at the party last night?" Nick says, "Yeah." Mom says, "Hey, thanks for calling when you were running late. I appreciated that." Person praise, raise your hand. Process praise, raise your hand. Good, it's unanimous. So, because she didn't say, if we're looking at person praise, she didn't say, "Hey, Nick, you're a good caller." You wouldn't say that. She broke it down for him. "Thank you for calling when you were running late because I didn't worry. That way I knew you were okay." Again, that tall boy is going to remember Mom's words. It's more words, but it gets her point across. The last scene, Dad is entering the kitchen and he's putting away the groceries as Jess is at the table. Dad says, "Hey, Jess, thanks for your help with your sister today. You've been a big help with her all week, and your mom and I really appreciate it." And Jess says, "Of course." That one's kind of tricky to me as well. I think we could probably debate that one. It's got some qualities of both, but it certainly leans more in this direction. Again, he is thanking her for her action and her effort of helping with sister. He didn't say, "You're a good helper." That would fall under person praise. He praised her specifically for her efforts and her actions. Okay? now that we've looked at the two different types of praise, let's get a little deeper. Let's dig a little deeper and see. We know that praise is necessary. We know that praise is a good thing. But is there a way that is really better to praise children? Is there a way to get more bang for your buck in terms of praise with our children? So I'm going to hand the clicker over to Karen, and she'll take you through the second half of the presentation.
All right, so we looked at those two types of praise, and I think all of you have gotten a good handle on identifying those two types. So let's look at, what did this study say? What was the outcome of looking at the person praise versus process praise, and then where those kids were 5 years later? Because remember, they recorded it, they categorized their phrases into those two types, and then they went back 5 years later to look at their motivation. What do they like to do? What happens when they're doing something and they come upon a stumbling block? Do they plow through, or do they stop and say, not me, I'm not doing that? What do they do? Let's use this drawing of this butterfly. Either one of your students has drawn this for you, or one of your children. And they spend a great deal of time on it, about 15 minutes, which you know is a fair amount of time for one little drawing. And they've used a lot of colors, and it's a nice drawing. So a person praise phrase might be, you're a great artist. And there's that part of us that says, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna build my child up. I'm gonna build this child in my class up, and this is gonna help do that. And what this research says is actually it doesn't. It tells them that they're a great artist. It really doesn't matter what they do. So tomorrow, when they make you that picture where they take the brown crayon and they do like this really fast and they hand it to you, and you want them to go back and work on it some more, are they going to do that? This research says they're not, because you've already told them you're great. You've given them that label, as Robert says, you've put it on their head, and so they don't need to change what they're doing in order to be great. A process praise phrase might be, you use many different colors on that picture and worked really hard. So you're praising their effort of working really hard, their action of using many different colors, and their strategy is kind of those two things combined, right, to make a really nice picture. And so what this research says is that process praise is indeed the better way to praise children. It tells them that they can push through, they can make changes, and how they do things is going to change the overall end result. It's not the brown color on the paper. They have to do something more to cultivate that. So what does that mean to us? As parents, as teachers, as educators, it means that we need to focus on using process praise in our classrooms. We need to focus on their efforts, their actions, their strategies, breaking it down. 9 times out of 10, that means you're going to use more words in what you share with the children and the feedback that you give them. And knowing that we have the focus of having an increase in vocabulary and oral language development, this is a little place you can sneak in some other words for them to learn and to know, because this changes their framework. This tells them what they can do. This research is old. It's been around for 30 some odd years, but it's kind of starting to make a resurgence and come back out and say, look, this is what we need to do. Our supervisor was at a conference in March, and there was a Harvard professor that was talking about this very same thing and saying, these are the kids we want at Harvard that are going to push through, that you know, when you think about when you were learning something yourself, when you're in that spot of not really knowing, that's when you learn. You push through and you come out and you've learned how to do it. And so this tells them that they can push through hard work, they can strengthen, they can improve, and they can develop their abilities. And so now we're going to practice together. We're going to go back to our phrases that we gave at the beginning, and we're going to look at those phrases and determine, are they person praise or are they process praise? And if they are person praise, how might we turn them to send that same message but to make them a process praise phrase? So the first one of much better than last week. What do you think? Person praise or process praise? It is process praise. You could probably add some more words and say, you know, this time of playing is better than last week, or, you know, something along those lines you could add to it. But as it is some process praise. And you could do because and add that as well.
Because of your extra practice this week.
Yes.
I think it always helps to tell them why.
Yes, I agree. What a pretty song.
Person praise?
It's kind of hard to say because it's really more of a statement. You know, it's not, I mean, but you have to think too that praise can be a statement. It doesn't always have to be you're so good at. And that's one of the things that people get hung up on sometimes. I was in a classroom doing observation and I commented to the teacher how great of a job she had done using praise to control her class. And she said, I didn't use any praise. And I said, you did. I said, you thanked them. You said, thank you, Sally, for sitting down. Thank you, Sandra, for sitting down. And then she said it 3 times, and by the end, they had all sat down. And then she thanked them all. Thank you all for following directions and sitting down. But she didn't even realize she was doing it, and she didn't categorize that as praise. But it is praise, because if you think back, you are expressing approval of, right? And so you're telling them you like what they're doing.
I think what a pretty song has, that sort of sounds a bit final. So I think if you did the ... and tell me more, why is it pretty? What about it is pretty? What am I doing specifically? Is it because she's sitting up straight? Is it because she has the music memorized? Because you notice in the picture, there's no music there. Is it because she's got it memorized and she's playing by heart and she's really feeling it?
And she looks happy.
She looks happy, yes.
And so I think that can come out in the pretty song.
Yeah. So I think we can definitely call the first 2 process. I think this one maybe with a few more words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job. What do you think? You're praising their job of what? And so good job is indeed process praise. It just needs more. They need to know more. Good job. Maybe last time she played the song but she was slumped over. So good job having correct posture and holding your fingers over the keys. Or good job finally getting the piece memorized, something like that, to let them know. And that's something we see when we come through and do observations in the classrooms. We hear a ton of good job, Kristen, good job, Laura, but good job for what? And just so we encourage you to extend that out and carry that out to say what the good job is for. Or thank you for putting the blocks away, or thank you for helping your classmate with that. Something along those lines to carry it out to be a bit more. And lastly, you are a great musician. Person praise or process praise?
That's probably the most perfect example of person praise that there is. So yes, but how would we turn that around? And let me defend person praise for just a moment. We're not saying that person praise is always a bad thing. I'm always going to tell my 8-year-old son that he's handsome and wonderful because he may not get that from anyone else. He's going to get it from his dad. So person praise is fine. I just think we need to add more words to it and tell them why they're getting this praise. So you're a great musician because, or if you keep practicing daily for 30 minutes, you will become a great musician. They have to understand that you don't just get there without this journey. And I think that's the point.
Because at this point, you know, we might as well crown her as the next Van Cliburn winner, right? Because she's a great musician. There's really not anything more that she can do. And that's what that implies. And so we just want to give them that you will become a great musician if you keep practicing to help them to know it, to continue to develop their skills. So let's look at our next example. We're only going to do one more. This is day 2 of bicycle riding training. Yesterday did not go well. There was crying. There was refusal to wear the helmet. And so today is a new day. You can see like I said, it's day 2, but he still has his training wheels here. And so you have to think about the students in your classroom too. Ultimately, what do we want for this little guy? We want him to ride his bicycle. But in thinking about the kids in your classroom, some of them, you're going to be happy once they sit on the bicycle and they don't fall off. And then you're going to be happy that they can, with the training wheels on, they can still pedal, they've got their head up. And so you might have a lot of little celebrations along the way before you get to the ultimate of being a bicycle rider. And so think about that with this little guy, and what are some process praise phrases that you might say, especially knowing that yesterday was not a good day for either one of you. Just shout about. What do you think?
Looks like he's having a really good time today. He's smiling. They're both smiling. He looks like he's enjoying it. There's no crying and he's got his helmet on.
Yes.
So what would you say to him about that?
I think I would say, I'm proud of you for wearing your helmet and having a good attitude and keeping on trying.
That's a good one. So you're definitely praising his efforts, his actions, and his strategy there of working to learn the bicycle, to ride the bicycle. What else? Remember, you're breaking it down, so what might you say about what's happening here, right?
Thanks for keeping your hands on the handlebars.
Yes, thanks for keeping your hands on the handlebars. That'll help you to steer your bicycle and not run into the neighbor's car or something. What else? What about looking right here? Let's assume that he's pedaling consistently and constantly and not like willy-nilly like they often do. So what is that going to help him to do?
I like your pedaling.
I like.
And you know, I laugh because we're going through that at my house right now, and it's a big deal to keep those feet on those pedals and that they don't slip off. That's huge. So yes.
You want one more?
One more. You know, I like 4.
What do you think? Keeping your eyes on the road,
That's a big one because at my house I've noticed right now we're looking down a lot.
watching those feet that are pedaling or trying to pedal.
Yes, that's it.
So great job keeping your eyes up and on the road.
The main idea, we understand that we wouldn't automatically tell this child, you're a great bike rider. That would be misleading him at this point, among other things, right? We have to break it down. We want to give them the confidence to push forward. We certainly don't want him to think that he's peaked and he doesn't have to work at this anymore. As an educator, I would do that. I would go straight down the row in my classroom. I'd start at the front of the room and say, hey, you're a rock star. Oh, great job. You are awesome. Oh, you are perfect. You're wonderful. And I did that all the way down to the back of the room. And by the time I get to the back of the room, I turn around and what's going on in the front of the room? A whole bunch of nothing. because I just validated everything they were doing. And they may have been doing good things, but basically I gave them the message that, hey, you've peaked. I've put that label on your forehead. You can't get any better. Had I broken it down for my students and told them specifically what I liked that they were doing, that may have made a difference. So that's why we believe that process praise is certainly the way to not only to promote vocabulary and oral language and use more words to get students to speak in complete sentences with you and with one another, but it also breaks down their process. And I think it sends a strong message that you don't just wake up wonderful. You have to work at it every day, all the time.
And so lastly, these are some other process praise phrases that you can put into your memory bank. We do the exercises so that you can kind of start to put some more of those into your arsenal to use. And these are some other phrases that you might be able to use and incorporate in your classroom or at your home. And this can be used with anybody. You know, it's not just your students or your kids, as Robert said, using it with other adults. And you talk about using it with your mom, and it changes the way that people respond.
Can somebody throw out one little piece of process praise for us before we dismiss? Give us a little review on our presentation and give us some process praise.
You did a great job providing eye contact and moving around the room.
She said you did a great job providing eye contact and moving around the room. Was that plenty of words? Was it very specific? Am I going to do that the next time I present because I'm going to remember Miss Kristen's comment? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. We thank you all very much for being here. You were great participants. Thank you, thank you, thank you.